Every person who has ever struggled financially has had that one fantasy, that one moment where they close their eyes and imagine what it would feel like to never worry about money again, not just comfortable but truly, completely, almost impossibly free from every financial pressure that has ever kept them up at night. Most people wake up from that fantasy and go back to reality. But what if someone didn't have to? This is the story of an ordinary man living an ordinary life, the kind of life where every purchase is calculated, where the end of the month arrives faster than the paycheck, where dreams exist but always seem to be separated from reality by a gap that feels impossible to cross. He wasn't lazy, he wasn't careless, he was simply someone the world hadn't handed anything to, someone who had been grinding through life with the quiet hope that eventually something would change. And then something changed. In the most extraordinary way imaginable. It came in the form of an object ancient, unusual, and carrying within it a power so far beyond ordinary logic that the first time he experienced it, he genuinely questioned his own mind. A vessel. Something that looked like it belonged in a museum or an old story passed down through generations, not in the hands of someone selling things on a street corner just to get through the week. But there it was, and once he understood what it could do, nothing about his life would ever look the same again. The vessel multiplied things, not metaphorically, not through some complicated process that required expertise or equipment, but literally, physically, impossibly. Place a single gold brick inside and reach back in, there were two. Come back again, there were four. The multiplication was real, it was consistent, and it operated by a logic that had no business existing in the world he knew. Diamond rings, one placed carefully in, 100 retrieved with steady hands. Rare items that the market hadn't seen in decades, things collectors would pay fortunes for, things that simply did not exist in available supply anymore. He could produce them in whatever quantity the moment required, and medicine. This detail alone carried a weight that went beyond wealth, because there is a difference between being rich and being powerful enough to help people in ways that money alone cannot always reach, remedies that were difficult to find, treatments that had become scarce or expensive beyond the reach of ordinary people. He could hold out a full handful at any given moment. The vessel didn't just give him wealth, it gave him something that felt, in his quieter moments, almost like a responsibility. What makes this story so entertaining to follow is watching someone completely unprepared for abundance suddenly swimming in it. Because having unlimited resources sounds simple until you actually have them, and then you discover very quickly that money at that scale attracts attention, and attention brings complications, and complications arrive in forms you never anticipated when you were just dreaming about paying your bills on time. The street corner where he first started selling, modest, unassuming, just a man with goods that seemed too good to be priced the way he priced them, became something else entirely. Word traveled, it always does. People noticed that what he was offering was real, was rare, was priced in ways that made no sense unless something extraordinary was happening behind the scenes. Some people were curious, some were grateful, and some, the ones who always appear when there is something valuable to be taken, began watching with a very different kind of interest. Navigating sudden wealth is its own education. Every decision he made from this point forward had consequences that rippled outward in ways he had to learn to anticipate. Who to trust, how much to reveal, when to be generous, and when generosity becomes a vulnerability. The vessel gave him power, but it didn't come with instructions for how to survive the world that power attracted. There is something genuinely joyful about this story though, and that joy is important, because it's at the very center of why it works. It is the joy of watching someone who deserved a break finally get one. It is the satisfaction of seeing a person who spent years being overlooked suddenly have more than enough, not because he cheated anyone, not because he took from someone else, but because something miraculous landed in his hands and he had the sense and the heart to do something meaningful with it. The gold bricks and the diamond rings and the rare artifacts are entertaining. They are the spectacle of the story. But underneath all of that, what this story is really about is a simple man discovering what kind of person he becomes when the world finally stops limiting him. And the answer, it turns out, is someone worth watching very closely.